Okay, I'm going to officially call this meeting of Price County Board of Supervisors to order. First of all, please stand. We'll have the invocation. Pastor Tennant, you could come up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have it set up.
Yeah, thank you. Let's bow our heads and our hearts in prayer this morning. Father, today I want to thank you because we can talk to you because of Jesus Christ. And I thank you today for each person here. I thank you for their hearts to be sensitive to you. And I pray upon them the grace and the mercy of God. May unity abound here because there's power in unity. Let each person's mind and heart be sensitive to your leading. Holy Spirit, I thank you for each person here. And again, I bless them and I bless this meeting with your presence. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Pledge allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
I can't share. Can't think.
Present, yes, and
That's what I say. And hers is a
Okay, it looks like everybody's here except Mr. Hastings, who was excused.
attendance.
Go on, communications and announcements. I know, Nick, you had something.
Office. So just two quick things. It's not on the agenda, but I wanted to remind everybody this Thursday we have the canine brat feed. So you'll see our flyer's pretty small, but it's up on the screen for Dixon and Kane. There'll be brats or hot dogs for $5. That comes with chips, blah blah blah. So that'll be Thursday, August 21st from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And the other one is we are doing our annual night at the fair for county employees and board members. So you should have had a couple of flyers from Laura throughout the last month reminding you, but starting at 3:30, we have additional programming this year where they're going to do with Create You. Is that what it's called? Create. They're going to do some activities that anybody can participate in with painting. You can see them here on the side. And then we're going to have a private tent or a tent that we're going to have water for employees. You'll also receive the ice cream again with the 4-H. So we were working with the 4-H, the fair, to do the Thursday, August 21st night at the fair again. There's much more going on this year on Thursday night because they've shortened the fair. They're one less day. They're not doing Sunday. So they've added fireworks to Thursday night, a couple other activities. So there should be a lot going on for employees. The school also joined us.
Yes.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Kopish.
I heard you were going to be on a dunk tank or something with that county.
I heard it was just paintball. It's going to be able to shoot me. No dunk tape this year, but we'll take suggestions for future years, like not next year. That's what I had.
Okay, hopefully everybody will be able to participate. Anybody else with communication or comment from the board? Dropnik.
So I got something regarding resolution number 5 on our packet. Do you want me to talk about it then or now?
Let's talk about it then when we have discussion.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, moving on. Public comments. Has anybody signed up for public comment?
Shirley.
Just a reminder, Ms. Smith, 2 minutes for non-agenda, 3 minutes for agenda item.
See if this is on.
Green light, center button.
There, okay. Hello, I'm Shirley Smith. I live in Phillips, Wisconsin. This meeting began with an invocation. I can remember a time when it was traditional to have the invitation given by a rotation of members of local clergy. This at least showed respect for the diversity of religious belief in Price County. It also disregarded Americans like myself, who seldom or never attend religious services. According to a recent Gallup poll, that is 56%, or most of Americans. While I am happy to go to church suppers and rummage sales, I do not choose to attend church services. I do pray every day, deliver us from evil. And the evil that most concerns me in America today is Christian nationalism. It's the unholy mix of religion and politics, a movement that wrongly insists that the U.S. was founded as a Christian nation and seeks to erase the separation of church and state the founding fathers quite deliberately put into the Constitution. Having the same pastor deliver the invocation at every meeting of the county board smacks of having declared that we have an official Price County religion. I will no longer participate in prayer done as a public performance, more to please clerics and politicians than to please God. I urge you to return to having the invocation given by a variety of clergy or give up the practice altogether. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to presentations. Employee recognitions. Laura Powskill.
Good morning.
Morning.
We have a number of employees to celebrate today. So these are our July and August employee recognition anniversaries. So we do have some of the employees in attendance with us. So I would invite them to stand up as their grouping is called here. First, celebrating 1 year, Jacob Lex, Deputy Sheriff, Jason Lazar, who's a corrections officer and civilian dispatcher, Jules Dinallo, our Deputy County Clerk, Austin Acker, a social worker in behavioral health, Lori Svoboda, child support administrative assistant, and Jordan Kutsky, who is a social worker in our adult protective services. So let's give them a round of applause. Next up, celebrating 5 years, we have Christine Hollebeck, who is an economic support specialist, Chrissy Trimble, an investigator with the Sheriff's Department, and Crystal Jokinen, one of our family skills workers. So let's give them a quick round of applause. Celebrating 10 years with us, we have Craig Calcevera, who is a deputy sheriff and one of our canine officers, and Carrie Krupp, who is the Health and Human Services Fiscal and Administrative Supervisor. Finally, celebrating 20 years at the county, we have Amanda McMeekin, who is our Assistant Zoning Administrator. Again, thanks to all of them for everything that they do. It's exciting to see so many employees who are celebrating those milestone anniversaries with us. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all employees for the work you do and sticking with us. Moving on, congressional representative will be giving a presentation. Mr. Jim Miller from Tom Tiffany's office regarding the Apostle Islands National Park resolution coming up.
Morning, everyone. I think you're all familiar, I guess, with the Apostle Islands. So I'll try to be brief. I guess I can go as long as you want, but I'll try to do some quick notes here on what Congressman is proposing and open up for questions. Probably you had heard that late last session of Congress.
Oh, thank you. The congressman had introduced in a committee a bill to redesignate the Apostle Islands, which is currently a national lakeshore, to a national park. And the clock kind of ran out on us. He introduced it late in session. So now we have to reintroduce that in a new session of Congress. And so that's what he's proposing to do. And so we're out trying to gather local support for that as well. I've been hitting the road for over a year now, it seems like, to discuss this with local municipalities, local leaders and stakeholders. And so we'd ask for your support along with to join Washburn and Sawyer County that have already passed resolutions in support of this bill. A little bit of history about the National Park Service. There are actually 425 units of the National Park Service with more than 20 designations. You're probably familiar with Scenic River Waterways and the Chequamegon National Forest. So 20 different designations. We don't have a national park in Wisconsin, although the Red Cliff Tribe has designated Frog Creek as a tribal national park, but it's not obviously part of our national park system as well. So there is a national park. It's not part of the federal government, U.S. federal government at this point, but this would be Wisconsin's first. The national park, of course, is the highest level of designation. So it would elevate from national lakeshore to a national park. And our hopes is with that designation, it kind of checks the box for a lot of bucket listers. There's a lot of people that want to go and hit every national park as their bucket list and draw more national attention to the area. And of course, then the end result would be enhanced economic impact for the whole region. And that's why I think it would affect certainly Price County and beyond to have travelers nationally come to visit the Apostle Islands because it's part of that park system. Congress has the authority to create or change the designation. The president can declare national monuments as well. So that's also part of the designation. There are currently 63 national parks in the United States. So with this bill, I want to talk a little bit about ecological protections. There's currently a lot of ecological protections within a national lakeshore, but by elevating it to national park, that it creates even more protections and also hopefully brings more funding as well. So one of the concerns that we've heard from locals, and if you're familiar with my boss, the congressman, is that he did introduce a bill many years ago to open up mining in the Gogebic Range and beyond. But that is not the intent of this bill whatsoever. This would actually enhance the protection of the Apostle Islands. There are some detractors that think that this is a backdoor effort to mine the Apostle Islands, which would be beyond crazy. As a constituent and a local, I wouldn't want that. Tom does not want that, and that certainly isn't the effect of this bill. There are actually current protections in law that says that mining is prohibited in a national park. So we can just probably take that off the table, that discussion as well. But I've heard that rumor often that this is that's what this is all about, and it is not. It is to obviously drive economic the local economy through tourism. Also, hunting is not allowed within a national park. It is allowed within a national lakeshore. And so one of the bear hunters are not particularly happy because they're concerned about bear hunting there, but this bill specifically would designate Sand Island as a national preserve. And that would allow hunting on Sand Island specifically. I've got some data on how many animals were harvested, but I think there was like 3 deer harvested on the national park over like a 10-year plan. So not a lot of deer hunting within the national lakeshore now. There is quite a bit of hunting on Madeline Island, but of course Madeline Island is not part of the park system. That is actually developed, and La Pointe is there as well. So when we're talking about a national park, we're not talking about La Pointe, where a lot of the tourists go and take the ferry. So hunting would still be allowed there as well. So that, if you're familiar and you read the text of the bill, you'll see that Sand Island would be set aside as a preserve, that is to allow for some hunting there. And of course, the economic development, we study many national parks, most recently Indiana Dunes, and saw basically a 10% increase in their base funding. And then of course, it's hard to quantify what the impact will be, but we certainly suspect that there'll be a significant economic impact. And I can tell you firsthand that my family ran hotels both in Phillips and in Park Falls for about 20 years. We developed the Super 8s and ran them, if you're familiar, went right down the street here. Spent many hours at the front desk and visited with many tourists that came to Price County and headed up to the Apostle Islands, either for day trips or whatnot. So there's no doubt that there's going to be a direct economic impact for Price County. And so that's why we're asking for your support and your interest, and believe that you guys are stakeholders in this. And of course, with that economic impact, the county is going to see increased room tax or sales tax. The townships that have lodging or Airbnbs will see increased room tax, and of course that's going to go to their general fund. And furthermore, Bayfield County it has some concerns about this, but they also have a premier resort area tax. So they're one of the few communities in Wisconsin that has a 0.5% sales tax in addition to their local sale or their state sales tax. And that's used for their infrastructure and law enforcement and parking and every other concerns that they might have. So they do have that designation as well. I want to, I guess, maybe address a few of the concerns that if you're probably aware, I know Jeff is aware, and Brian, the chair, that Bayfield County has passed a resolution opposed to this. And I guess I want to address that. There's a few things that they listed in their resolution of why they are opposed. First of all, they cited that there was not consultation with the tribe. And I can tell you that before this even became public, there were tribal representatives in our office in DC discussing this long before it was even, the bill was even dropped last year. And we've had ongoing attempts to meet with them to discuss this. My last discussion, Mark Abels Allison, I think you know, who's the administrator up in Bayfield County, tried to set up a meeting with myself and the Red Cliff tribe, and they canceled about 48 hours before. Haven't had any follow-up from them. Reached out to LCO tribe. They've had some concerns and said our door is open, we'd meet. They've yet to reach out to schedule that meeting. So we are attempting. I guess my point is we have an open door to listen to their concerns. This bill specifically, once Tom drafted it, the only amendment that he made was to re-designate or strengthen the sovereignty of the tribes, to say that they are sovereign, that they can still have their hunting and gathering rights within a national park as they do in any other national park. So he did make changes to the language to strengthen that relationship and that sovereignty. And the bill also specifically has language that talks about including cultural and historical educational material about the Anishinaabe within the visitor centers as well. So we're definitely cognizant of the history of the region and the history of the Anishinaabe up there. So that is part of this bill as well. So some of the other feedback that we've got from the Bayfield County folks is that we don't need more tourism. We heard from one of the county board members that he doesn't like going to the coffee shop and having long lines at the coffee shop. And as a former small business owner, I would say that's a bit selfish, because if you're the owner of the coffee shop, that means you might want to expand your coffee shop or build another coffee shop or whatnot. So I know that Bayfield County, and I grew up in Bayfield County, some people pride themselves on not having a stoplight. They are one of the oldest counties in the state, and they have and they have a full-time economic development director, and they have a full-time tourism director. So for them to not want more tourism and staff a full-time tourism director, I don't know that we necessarily agree with that. I talked about the mining a bit. Let's see. We've also been in contact with Ashland County on behalf of Ashland County about the Great Lakes Visitor Center, which you're all familiar with as well. And so they've got some operating challenges right now. And our hopes is that by enhancing this to a national park, that we can get additional funding to help that Great Lakes Visitor Center. Right now, it's only staffed it's part-time, staffed part-time. And so we would hope that would be a base or a center for gateway for the national park. For that reason, we've gotten support from the mayor of Ashland. He's very much on board. He would hope that we could house more park staff in Ashland as well. Despite many opposition from Bayfield, Ashland is on board as well. And then I guess lastly, I'll say that I haven't seen any draft of this proposed resolution that you guys might be considering, but I'll say that Bayfield or Washburn County in their resolution did acknowledge Bayfield County's opposition, but ultimately they chose to support it because it's good for Washburn County, they believe, obviously with the tourism, and we think the same as well. We think that that this is good for certainly for all the surrounding counties, which is probably why we're getting a lot more support a little further away. We're not the epicenter, obviously, of the activity, but there's going to be a wide swath of economic advantages to elevating this to a park. So,
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
So you may not want to answer this, but
Go ahead.
is the Bayfield opposition majority, do you feel? Is that your gut feeling, or is it a vocal minority?
I think it's a vote, well,
Like I said, you don't have to answer. if you
Yeah.
don't want.
I don't want to go down a political rabbit hole, but there is a vocal minority that doesn't care for the congressman or the president, and has been lobbying heavily and trying to get ahead of resolutions to try to squash resolutions. And so much so that it created some conflict in the economic development director up there signed on a letter of support, and then got a lot of feedback from it and left the job. I'm not sure why he left the job, but that was, or if he was forced out, but yeah, there's been a lot of political pushback by a small and vocal group.
Jim,
So,
Jim, there's one road going, Highway 13, that goes up to the Apostle Bayfield there.
Mhm.
Is there going to be a feasibility study on how that would affect like Washburn, for instance? Is that going to be overwhelming the traffic?
I would say, I'm not sure about the feasibility study. I mean, we kind of have to do these incrementally, but I know that the talk about making, I grew up I'm from Ashland, grew up in Bayfield County. The talk of making US 2 4-lane has been going on for years and years and years. I know Janet Bewley talked about it, other state senators as well. And so we think that to be able to tangibly show more activity up there makes the case for further investment in infrastructure. So if we need to go back to the state and say, listen, we need to, and the DOT, and we need to get 4-lane, same thing with rail. We keep hearing it. We need rail up here. Okay, rail to what? Do you put the rail in first before you put the driver of the rail in, or do you put the industry in? So there will be more, we anticipate there'll be more traffic flow, but with that, it's easier for us to ask both state and federal to say, listen, we need to fund these projects. My personal opinion is I'd like to see 4-lane across US 2. I think it'd be great for northern Wisconsin, so.
Mr. Holstein.
Just briefly touch on the other project that's going on up there that could potentially tie in with this, being Copper Mountain, the big expansion. That
Oh, yes. Yeah. We were,
going to affect us.
we were at Northwest Regional Planning meeting. Boy, it was last month or so. And the gentleman who runs Stormy Cromer is working on developing the Copper Peak ski flying up in the UP. And apparently ski jumping is all the rage in Europe. And it's similar. That's probably a smaller scale draw or project, because I would say that ski jumping is probably a smaller draw than national parks are. But nonetheless, he was talking about some of the economic benefits and the radius of how far that's going to affect the area, all the way down into northern Wisconsin, because people will be coming to visit Copper Peak as well. And so, I mean, this is really kind of a holistic approach. I mean, I'm not going to come here and promise you that this is going to be the one issue that's going to solve all of northern Wisconsin's problems. It's not. But anytime we can look at incrementally bringing more tourism in, more revenue, highlighting what we have in northern Wisconsin, that brings people here that want to come and live and play and stay, hopefully in the long run. And we still have housing issues to address. We still have broadband issues to address. We have all of that. So this is not a comprehensive package that's going to address housing, because I know the Bayfield County also brought that up as well. They're like, well, we don't have the housing up here, so we can't sustain it. Well, does that mean that we can't designate it as a park? And we went back to Bayfield County and said, you really need to look at your zoning, by the way, because you have some of the most restrictive zoning regulations around. So if you have housing, it's not the federal government's fault. Maybe it's your local zoning regulations. So,
And just the reason I asked him to give a little update on that is because it does tie into this, because if that becomes a national park system, international people that'll be coming over for these events target areas where they can go visiting then. And they felt that the two of these kind of mirror each other a little bit, to where that is going to drive a bunch more international tourism to the area. So,
yeah. I mean, there's certainly a reason that we all live here, live and stay and work and play up here. And that's because of the recreation. I mean, I use the trails all the time. We go to the parks, we go to state parks, county parks, national parks. We want to protect it. but we also want to showcase it. And ultimately it's, timber and tourism are some of the biggest drivers of our economy. And I would say this isn't mining. I know mining is controversial. I know pipelines are controversial. It's a national park. And if anybody says that they don't want tourism, these are families in, the minivan with the plastic kayak on the top coming up, spending their hard-earned money. And yes, does that mean that there's a little bit of a wait at the restaurant or bar on a Friday or Saturday night? Yeah. Is it inconvenience? Maybe, but feeds a lot of families up here, and I think it's good for our economy. So, any other questions? Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
the consideration.
Okay, moving on. Approval of the minutes from the June 17th, 2025 meeting. Looking for a motion to approve. Bring it up on the screen here.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Well, hopefully we'll get it on our computer, but
Oh, well, we have it in our hand too, so. Minutes. Request to speak.
You don't need to share.
Okay, there it goes. Yeah, got it. Sorry about that. Oh, wow.
in case anybody online is wondering, we're working on the computer here.
Thank you. Battery too, that's.
Okay, now we have motion by Drobnik, second by Hallstrand, to approve the minutes from the June 17th, 2025 meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote for approval.
Just need yours, yeah. Alan, I'll ask for your voice vote. Minutes passed, 12 yes, 0 no. Thank you.
Next up, ordinances. These were forwarded from the land use meeting we had this morning before this meeting. First one is to amend ordinance chapter 520, shoreland zoning and R115 compliant. You have it in front of you an ordinance to amend the code of the Price County by amending chapter 20 entitled shoreland zoning article 6 building setbacks to amend 520-25 shoreland setbacks and article 7 vegetation to amend 520-29 establishment of vegetative buffer zone. Evan, do you want to speak to this at all? Or could you?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions.
So
Yeah, both of the.
Before Evan jumps in, so the process we're going through today is there's a ordinance that we're rescinding, we're adding, there was a process easier. So each one's.
This one we're just amending.
Yeah.
Yeah, 520 we're amending.
We have a motion by Drobnik and second by Polachek. Of discussions, I'll let Evan, speak to
Both
it
of them
first.
are to come into compliance with NR 115, which is the state shoreline zoning code. So if anybody has
So
any
we're just
specific
updating our
questions,
ordinance.
we're amending our ordinance
to reflect what the state has on their
Yes.
books.
That's correct. Yep. So in regard to shoreline zoning, NR 115 is basically the ceiling and the floor. We can't be more restrictive than NR 115. And we also can't be less restrictive. So these two amendments bring us into compliance with NR 115 in regards to these two items.
Any questions? Comments? Go ahead and call for a vote, then hearing none.
And motion carries 12-0 for ordinance number 2025-02.
Okay, next one is amend ordinance chapter 525 subdivision of land, NR 115 compliant. This is exactly the same reason.
Yes. I can. So we've got a motion.
Motion by Dropnik, second by Kopish. Any discussion?
So this one, it's been changed for quite a while. Our shoreline ordinance reflected this change, but our subdivision control ordinance did not. And the reason the reason all of these are coming about is because of the floodplain ordinance. We included these ones in there because ordinance amendments are relatively expensive. So if you can tie them all into one at one time, so we just kind of cleaned up language in it during this time. So it changes it's been this way for a while, but it changes the language to reflect the change that minimum lot size within the shoreline district is 20,000 square feet with 100 feet of frontage.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote.
And motion carries 12 yes, 0 no for ordinance number 2025-03.
Okay, under ordinances, number 3, repeal ordinance chapter 505, floodplain zoning ordinance. Looking for a motion to approve. Motion by Warcall. Second by Erickson. An ordinance to amend the code of Price County by deleting and repealing chapter 505, therefore entitled floodplain zoning. Evan?
So this one is repealing our existing floodplain zoning ordinance. We were notified by the DNR that our current ordinance is not compliant with NR 116. So it's a lot easier and cleaner to just repeal the entire ordinance and adopt the model ordinance drafted by the DNR. So this item is repealing the current ordinance.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, go ahead and vote.
And motion passes 12 yes, 0 no for ordinance number 2025-04.
And last under ordinances, number 4, adopt new ordinance chapter 505, floodplain zoning ordinance, NR 116 compliant. Don't believe anybody got this in their packet, but you should have received it online. Motion by Kopish, second by Drobnik. Discussion. Evan, do you want to briefly?
So this is adopting the new floodplain ordinance. It's a model ordinance drafted by the DNR to ensure that we're NR 116 compliant. If we don't have a compliant floodplain ordinance, citizens aren't eligible for flood insurance through the National Flood Insurance Program. So this brings us into compliance with NR 116.
I don't know how many people read it because it was 47 pages.
It's long. Yeah, it's
But
relatively long.
Are there
did-
any particular highlights that we need to be aware of or should be aware of as far as changes?
Not in particular. There's one section that was added for cranberry marshes, basically. It doesn't currently impact our cranberry marshes that are in existence in Price County because neither of those are mapped within the mapped floodplain in the county. If we received updated floodplain maps, it could potentially, what it actually does is it makes some exemptions for cranberry marshes. Whereas if we did not have that language in the ordinance, they wouldn't be exempt. So that's some new language that was added. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot of material changes that would change the way we regulate floodplain in Price County.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, go ahead and vote.
And motion carries 12 yes, 0 no for ordinance number 2025-05.
Very good. That concludes our ordinance section. Moving on to resolutions. Does anybody have an objection to moving item or resolution number 7 up to the forefront regarding the veteran service DAV transportation ban? So our veteran service officer can get back to work.
He's also.
Okay. Never mind. Resolution number 1, ad hoc committee on county opioid funding. Basically, we had to come up with a committee, and this resolution establishes that committee and also says who's going to be on that committee. Nick, you want to comment on that at all?
Yeah, so over the last several years, we've started to receive settlement money for the opioid claim. We currently have about $200,000 that we've received. We should be receiving money for the next 10 to 15 years, depending on settlements and timeline. In order to distribute that funds, we need to establish this opioid committee. During our discussion, we recommend no more than, I think it was 5. Did we change it to? No more than
No.
3, up to 5 meetings. So I believe by the time we meet, we kind of go over what our role is. They come back with ideas. We make a recommendation to the county, and then they would have to approve how the distribution of that funding happens. We should easily be able to complete that task in that 5 meetings. The list of individuals, or not, the positions are in your packet. There's, I believe, 16, includes the 3 school districts, the police department, the sheriff's department, or the 2 police departments, the sheriff department, probation and parole, the 2 hospitals located in the county, and then consortium members and county members. So it should go quick. It's just a matter of looking at how we want to use that money to combat opioid issues.
Okay, we have a motion by Werko, a second by Hallstrand. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote.
Motion passes 12 yes, 0 no for resolution number 15-25.
Just a comment, if you haven't seen it and we've already voted, doesn't matter, but the opioid committee list is on the back of number 2 resolution. Those will be the designees for this committee.
I think it's the front, not the back.
Maybe it is. Okay, next up. Resolution number 2, Apostle Islands National Park Resolution, came from executive. Apostle Islands National Park Resolution, whereas Apostle Islands located in Lake Superior off the coast of Ashland Bayfield County represent a unique natural and cultural treasure of regional significance, and you can read the rest. Now therefore be it resolved that the Price County Board of Supervisors acknowledges that the designation of the Apostle Islands as a national park would likely have a positive impact on Price County, and Be it further resolved that this resolution is adopted solely as an expression of acknowledgement and support for the potential benefits to Price County without any intent to interfere with or direct the decision-making process of Ashland Bay / Bayfield County or other authorities. Motion by Barkstrom, second by Drobnik. Any discussion? Ms. Hodak.
I just would like to concur with what Mr. Miller was talking about. You know, there's always people who are concerned that we're forgotten here north of 8, but then it's also north of 70. So, and I know in discussion with the WTA director from the north up there, there are concerns. The north and the south up in that area are always bickering back and forth, but and I know the concern of losing that small town flavor will be destroyed, as they say, by the increased tourism. But in listening to Mr. Miller, you know, in a coffee shop, I mean, any of those businesses, they have the Apple Fest, and that place is crawling with people, you know. So Telemark and the races over there. I mean, we just hope for these kinds of things. And so going through 13, definitely we're going to feel that and we'll embrace it. There will be those that will complain again, but I think this is something we should go for.
Thank you. Anybody else? Hearing none, go ahead and vote.
Brian, just a
I'm
comment.
sorry, Mr.
Yeah,
Kopish.
I have my hand up, but you didn't see it.
No.
So all we're doing here is we're voting on whether this will have a positive impact on Price County. That's it.
Mhm.
It's not supporting it. It's not whatever. It's just that it's going to have a positive impact. Is that what I'm reading here? Is that the way it's worded?
Where
Well, it says be it further resolved that the supervisors acknowledge that the designation of that will have a likely positive impact on Price County, and be it further resolved that as an expression of knowledge and support for potential benefit of Price County without intent to interfere or direct the decision-making process of any, you know, all the blah, 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 blah. So we're just saying it's going to have a positive impact on Price County. We're not really approving it. We're just saying it's going to have a positive impact on Price County.
I guess it's a roundabout way
The
of
way it
saying we
reads.
support it, but you're right.
Yeah, okay.
Right. That's to me what it says as well.
Would you like to amend it or?
No, I'm
Oh.
just making that point.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? We'll go ahead and vote.
Motion passes 11 yes, 1 no for resolution number 16-25.
Okay, moving on. Resolution number 3, approve revisions to the fiscal policy handbook. Whereas the Board of Supervisors previously adopted the Price County Fiscal Policy Handbook on June 21st, 2024. Now therefore be it resolved that the Price County Board of Supervisors hereby approve the proposed revisions to the Price County Fiscal Policy Handbook to be presented in final form for adoption at the August 19th, 2025 County Board organizational meeting. Nick, you want to say something?
We have a motion and should probably
I
wait.
didn't see. There's no motion yet. Motion by Hallstrand, second by Hodak.
All right. I don't know how in depth you guys want us to go into it. We did put together a summary sheet. It's about 2 pages long. A lot of what we did with this fiscal handbook is we reviewed it, looked at what state statutes have changed over the years, what the county board or committees have motioned or made resolutions for, and updated our handbook to what the current procedures that we're following are. So for example, on page 13, we changed dog license to animal control. So it's a lot of that grammatical stuff. We added, page 21, we added a Veterans Relief Fund. How we handle that. We had resolutions, we had motions, we had all kinds of things, but it's putting it in our fiscal policy handbook so that the supervisors and our department heads know what's going on in one spot. canine. We talked about promotional items and receiving items at, if you go to a conference, it used to be, we kind of had an unwritten rule of $25. It says in there of value. Well, we had a good discussion on what value means rather than just leaving it up to this each situation. But that's kind of payroll. We've gone to an electronic system. We used to be on a paper system. So that was all updated. But those are the changes that we went through over the last several months.
And Ms. Hodak.
It just has to do with wording. So under the now therefore be it resolved, it mentions August 19th, 2025 County Board organizational meeting. Isn't that, this is not our organizational meeting.
You're correct. That needs to be amended.
Okay.
So it's regular meeting.
Just county board meeting.
Okay.
I
county
would
board
think.
meeting.
Strike that word of
Organization.
organizational.
That's in April, isn't it? Yes.
Good catch.
It's probably the last time we did this, so we grabbed that.
Sure,
resolution.
not a problem.
So I guess we need a motion to amend.
I'll make that motion.
We have a second. Second by Kopish to amend to strike the word organizational. And then now therefore be it resolved. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Amendment has approved. Now we'll go back to the original. Any further discussion? Questions? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on approving the revisions to the fiscal policy handbook.
Motion carries 12 yes, 0 no for resolution number 17-25.
Moving on, resolution number 4. Delegating the authority to enter into settlement agreements with opioid defendants to the designated Price County officer or officers. Now therefore be it resolved, the Price County Board of Supervisors hereby makes the following resolutions. I think I'm on the right page here. I'll let you read that. It's fairly lengthy. Motion by Erickson, second by Polachek. Any discussion? Basically, we're designated who can speak for the county regarding the settlement. I'll let
Sign off on the settlement. So to summarize it, the executive chose the county administrator position to be able to sign off on any of the settlements that come through. Again, we go as a whole. This isn't like the Price County can do it and Russ County says, no, we want to do something different. It's Kruger Dickerson is our attorney for the whole. They recommend, we follow what's recommended. So it's the county administrator signs off on these. However, there is a provision in there that says I need to be updating the board chair before I do these things. So there is a checks and balance in there. It's not just as the paperwork comes. But this needs to be on file in order for us to continue through the settlement process.
Any questions? Comments? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote.
Motion passed 12 yes, 0 no for resolution number 18-25.
Next up, number 5, election official and judicial officer shielding policy and procedures in accordance with 2025 Wisconsin Act 7 and 2023 Wisconsin Act 235. Whereas the Wisconsin State Legislature has enacted 2025 Wisconsin Act 7 and 2023 Wisconsin Act 235, which establishes provisions for the protection of elected officials, election registration officials, and judicial officers' privacy. Now therefore be it resolved that the Price County Board of Supervisors does hereby approve the attached election official and judicial officer shielding policy and procedures, 2025 Wisconsin Act 7 and 2023 Wisconsin Act 235, effective April 1st, 2025. Motion by Worko, second by Hodek. Michelle, you have something to say?
So I got my comment from earlier that I
Yes.
got on this. So just wondering, since this was a state act, why should all the municipal clerks be required to enter into an MOU with the county administrator to obey it? Most of our election workers' addresses and phone numbers are listed in the current CenturyLink phone book. Ginny Strobel, Town of Georgetown Chair.
So we just go back on what this was. So in 2023, Wisconsin Act 235, and then in 2025, Wisconsin Act 7. Also, the governor just signed a updated version, last week, 2 weeks ago, to clean up some of the follow-up with this. So what this is saying that an election official can go to their region. So we're region 9, right? I believe it would be the judge's regional person, get paperwork that says, I want my information to be shielded, my public information. So they would get paperwork. They would have to, in our procedure, we have to come up with a procedure, would hand it into our corporation council, which then would distribute it to all the offices that it pertains to. So the issue is it's not just register of deeds. It would be zoning. It would be our real property lister. It could potentially be open records for the clerk's office. So everybody's aware that a property from a judicial officer has been shielded. They have to name the properties, everything. So we had to go through a process and a procedure to make sure our system could allow that. On the back end of that is when we do tax rolls or anything for assessors, we have to give all that information unredacted to the municipalities. So we had to come up with a confidentiality agreement, which happened to have my name on it, and it has nothing to do with me. It's just the county. We have an agreement with all the municipalities and the assessors to say you are going to be receiving information that may not be able to be given out. So again, bad guy goes to the assessor and says, I want to know where blah, blah, blah lives. They have to know whether or not that is protected information. So we're giving them a piece of paper with my name on it that says, please be aware that you may be requested. You shouldn't be giving this information out. So that's where that agreement went to all the assessors. We've had, I would say, about 85% of municipalities and assessors give back that signed and go, cool, we understand. We don't tend to give that stuff out. Poll workers, also, they'll have a book with all people's addresses. That is not, they're allowed to be redacted under this information. The change was the biggest new change was Act 7. That allows anybody who is an election official anytime in their life to also be considered under this program. We've not advertised that. We don't want it to be advertised because that's a lot of individuals. So you look at Town of Elk, every time you go out there, there's 5, 6 election workers. And now you look at the last 100 years, that's 30, 40, 50 people. They would all have the right to redact their information out of the land records. It doesn't make it go away. Now it's not a public facing thing on your website. So if you click on properties, you won't necessarily see who lives or who owns that. This has nothing to do with the county. This is all Act 235 and Act 7. We're just following compliance. So we are responsible for protecting that information once the individual gives us the requirement to protect it. And because we're giving that unredacted information to the municipalities and the assessors, we need to make them aware of that there's a responsibility there that they should have to cover that or be aware during like open book.
Mr. Hallstrand.
I've just got one comment on this. I get it. What we're trying to do here, protect the judges from, started at Supreme Court with the threats and all that, but where my concern is, where is this going to end with elected officials? Is it going to be all of a sudden, oh, our state representatives want their information redacted because they're getting threats. And then it's going to be the county, us, then it'll be the town. If it pretty soon, everything's going to be redacted is my only concern with this. I mean, I get it. And I think it's important for our judges, but yeah, like you brought up with the clerks. I mean, over the years, everybody's clerk that was a clerk could get their information.
It's not even a clerk. You work in
Election official,
Yep, election
right.
official. Same with judicial officer. That does not mean judge. That could mean Megan or Leanna used to be, they could be court commissioners, which is they hear the ordinance or not ordinances, but local ordinance tickets, anything like that. So it's not one like in ours. You know, we have 3 or 4 judges still around. It's all anybody they assigned as a court commissioner. Also, we have people that own property here that might be a judge or a federal judge somewhere else. So there's other counties that same thing where federal judge owns property there, they want to be redacted, and they are able to do that under the current law. The part where you're saying the spread of it, none of this has come to fruition, but the rumors are, okay, it started here. Why are not law enforcement officers or law people included? Why not any elected official? And then they've also turned it to just say, well, then anybody can opt into it. So it's not a open source information. It's, you would go online and click a button and say, don't put my name on my property. It would still be under record. You'd still be able to. The areas where like Register of Deeds is brought up is when you go to sell your property and they try to do title searches, none of this will come up. So then you have to give that title company permission. And those are the little things. We have limited number of individuals, but big counties have a lot of people.
Ms. Steven.
And I'd like to support this, people's right to privacy, but as Jeff said, where does this stop? And we'd have to wipe out almost all social media platforms because if someone wants to be found, they can be found. I'm going to erase this, but I'm going to be on Facebook every 20 minutes.
And I will say, you can't look at it as Price County because, for example, Judge Klein, Judge Fox, Judge Fuhr, they have kids in the school. Their spouses were teachers or nurses. We know who they were. They were coaches of tennis teams. They were whatever they were members of our society that's easily recognizable. They walk out across the street, you see them. That's where something bad may happen. But there's a lot of counties that the judge has private parking under the building. There, you don't know where they are, what vehicle they're in. I mean, you have to do some research to figure out who these people are. They're protected in many, many different ways. Ours walks around the building, right? A lot of them have private access behind courtrooms and to their offices. We can't look at it as Price County. We have to look at it as Milwaukee, Dane, Marathon. They have private parking, the bigger ones. So it's hard to picture it here because they are our friends and community members compared to, not saying judges don't have friends in other areas, but it's when you walk around in Milwaukee, you're probably not recognized as the judge unless somebody truly is looking for you and knows you because you were in your courtroom.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote.
Motion carries 11 yes, 1 no for resolution number 19-25, election official and judicial officer shielding.
Resolution number 6. Resolution, okay, first of all, before I read it, it's been amended since the one that was put out in your packet. We have copies here we'll pass out.
Good, because we don't have a copy.
It was amended this morning. That's why you didn't get the update till now.
You can see the original. He won't share with me.
Glad she likes me.
Okay. From the original, it was, the opening line was amended. Resolution to advocate for the restoration of SNAP Ed funding with the state of Wisconsin resources to support food-wise education. Now therefore be it resolved that the Price County Board of Supervisors assembled this 19th day of August 2025 encourages other Wisconsin counties, local leaders, and community organizations to join in advocating for the restoration of SNAP Ed funding using state of Wisconsin resources to ensure continued access to nutrition education, support for local food systems, and improved health outcomes for Wisconsin residents. And finally, be it finally resolved that the county acknowledges the loss of SNAP Ed funding as a significant setback to community nutrition programming and remains committed to exploring future opportunities to support similar efforts at the local level. Motion by Drobnik, second by Barkstrom. My only comment is I think this funding was eliminated in the big, beautiful bill.
Yeah.
We talked about this extensively at the meeting this morning, the UW meeting.
And the other update that I don't know if it's on here, but it was added was who the resolution goes to. So on the very last paragraph, it goes to local legislators and the governor's office. Oh, it is up there. It's just not red on your version. Yeah. Yep. So that was also added.
Any further discussion? Mr. Bracca. Okay. Ms. Drobnik, you go ahead and go first.
So I did ask Amber for some talking points on this. So
Just
with
tell
the
everybody who Amber is.
Yeah, Miss Reberg
I mean, where's she from? UW.
from UW.
Area-
Sorry. I mean,
area.
okay, here, most everybody knows Amber, so my bad. Anyway, so I did ask her if she could get me some actual numbers for talking points during this, because I would highly encourage our executive committee to go back while doing the budget to try to find some funding to keep this in our community. The salary and fringe benefits for a half-time employee are $31,124, and the S&E, so the travel and programming supplies, et cetera, would cost about $3,500. So for under $35,000, we could staff this employee and keep our current things if it's not available through the state.
Mr. Bracca?
So I'm not real familiar with the SNAP, but is this an educational funding, or does this affect the assistance program itself? How does this all correlate together?
My knowledge is it's educational.
Yeah. Do you want Amber?
So what do we
Amber's-
provide
Amber,
educationally
do you want
wise?
to come up and give us a little explanation here, please?
Yep.
So I am Amber Reberg, and I'm the Area 3 and 4 Extension Director. And so Price County is now one of the areas that I have started to cover since December. But Price County is also home for me. So the SNAP Ed funding, specifically what got cut was the education. So not necessarily the services, but the education that went along with it. So there had been a big push, 30 years ago when SNAP Ed to ensure that individuals receiving those resources had some additional education to make good, healthy choices in the use of those dollars. And so those kind of things have been hand in hand, the education. So it's programming for low income. There was a income level where we had to, that we were serving. So schools had to be food income eligible in order for us to program with and for them.
Okay, so for what I'd like to see at some point, I guess, is for the educational side of it, what are we providing for education? And then also, out of the number of recipients in Price County, how many are utilizing that educational effort?
Do you want me to speak to it now? Okay, sure. So much of the programming is done in schools. So that is one of the primary audience is targeted at our young people. And it really is around healthy food choices and exercise movement. We also do programming with our food pantries. So ensuring that there's recipes or right, a lot of times food that's available in the food pantry, not everybody knows how to utilize. And so in order to make sure that what they're taking home, so a lot of times our nutrition educators will put some educational material, so kind of like handouts. So they'll create some resources that can be in the bags and other things. Also at different food banks will also do some demonstrations. So actually some things people can try and take home. Wendy, our nutrition educator, has also been doing some strong bodies. So some additional strong bodies programming. We offer that, but doing some up in Park Falls, and then also some Tai Chi evidence-based programming around that with some of our aging population.
So we're addressing the kids with the healthy choices. Are the parents, because the parents are the ones that are making the choice in the grocery store, should be anyway.
Yep.
Are we getting to them with this program also?
Yep. So when a lesson is done in the schools, often there will be take home in order to reinforce in home. So, and also, you know, a lot of programming done at the Head Start for both the parents. There's a requirement if you're a part of Head Start that there's some continuing ed there. And so doing programming both with the youth, but also with parents there as well. And also in the after school program. But again, I mean, the intent when the curriculum is created, it really is intended to have a parent piece, because you're right, kids are not necessarily purchasing the vegetables in the grocery store. So it definitely requires some parent, and that's tricky to get parent education to our parents.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Anybody else? Thank you, Amber. Okay, don't think.
Amber,
Oh,
I
I'm sorry.
have a question for you. How effective has this program been in the past, and is there any evidence to support it?
Yeah. So as with all education, right, effectiveness is measurable through evaluation, which we do. And so when we're thinking about education, nutrition education with young people, along with surveys that young people do at the end, it's typically what we'll see is Wendy goes into a classroom for a series of lessons, right? So it's not just one off. She goes in to our third grade classrooms and does 4 lessons in a school year. And so we will typically evaluate at the end to see, like, are you making any different choices? But that's always hard to measure, right? I mean, they have a positive interaction with somebody from the community who cares deeply for them and their health and well-being. You're going to have some positive outcomes in your evaluation. So I think that's always hard. I think what we see is, I mean, it's a lot of time in education, it's not as scientific as we'd like it to be, right? So Wendy can tell you, she's been here 25 plus years, and she'll tell you that she lives in this community up in Park Falls. She's in the grocery store and young people are super excited. They come up to her and are like, my mom bought broccoli for us to have, or we have star fruit now and we've never had it. So I think, from that standpoint, young people have been exposed to new foods that they would not otherwise have. The program has gone on for 30 years. There's a ton of evidence. It's across the nation. And the curriculum is used in all communities. So our educators are associates, which means they deliver the program that's been developed. So, and adapt it to the needs that we have locally. So again, I think it's hard to, I don't want to say that like scientifically we've changed like hundreds of people's lives. But I do think there's been significant movement. We also in the food pantries, the reality is that some of that food goes and gets wasted because it really is a lot of times things people have not prepared, or often in low income food preparation takes extra resources than what sometimes our low income families have the capabilities or the knowledge and skills to do. So I definitely think we see it there in that some of those resources are better being utilized by the individuals who are consuming and having access to them.
Ms. Hodak.
So in listening to all the questions that are coming forward, or maybe just sitting in your mind, you know, if you've ever been on the extension board, land use and extension, Wendy has given reports every time and has many handouts. I think it would behoove us to have her do a presentation for the county board, and some of these questions could be there. She could talk about the success of the program, and I know Amber has touched on it, but we would get her personal experience to that.
If we're going to move forward, yes. I guess my question is, do you want, this should come through executive before it gets to the county board? So is there a consensus that we should look into this further as far as the county funding this position? If so, I'll put it on the agenda. I'm just looking for a head nod if you're interested, if we should pursue this. Okay, I'll put it on the next agenda, executive. Maybe we'll have Wendy come there first and then move forward after that gets through executive, if it gets through. Does that sound like a good way to proceed? No.
I think it would be just a more well-informed decision for us to go from that.
Okay. Having said that, is there any other discussion regarding this resolution? Seeing none, go ahead and vote.
Motion carries 12 yes, 0 no for resolution number 20-24. 20-25.
Next, number 7, resolution to approve an agreement for the use of a veteran service DAV transportation van. Whereas the Price County Veteran Service Commission recommends establishing an agreement with the Wisconsin DAV Disabled American Veterans to provide a DAV transportation van for the use of Price County veterans that have medical appointments at one specific VA facility, the specific VA facilities, clinics, and/or community care appointments authorized by the specific facility. And you can read the rest. Now therefore be it resolved that the Executive Committee recommends the authorization of an agreement between the Price County Veteran Service Commission and the Wisconsin DAV to offer transportation services for Price County veterans that have medical appointments at the Iron Mountain VA, its clinics, or community care appointments authorized by the Iron Mountain VA facility. Nick, do you want to do, should we have Eldon come up?
I think Eldon can give more details. This came through the committees, like stated, where the Veterans Service Committee or Commission, they discussed it, reviewed it, sent it to executive for further discussion. We reviewed it on what it would affect. It does change how Health and Human Services works with Veterans Service Office, because right now the volunteer drivers come out of the Health and Human Services AODA funding and back and forth, but in general, there should not be a loss of funds that would affect us. It'll actually help out because it is difficult to get some of these volunteer drivers on the AODA side. So if you want to talk more.
I don't think you've been formally introduced. This is Eldon Shearer, our interim, or I guess that's the correct term, until he's officially appointed today, hopefully.
Hopefully for the next 20 minutes, right?
Veteran Service Officer, go ahead and give us your spiel on.
Good morning. For some of you, this is the first time meeting me. My name's Eldon Shire Senior. I was selected to replace Tony when he opted to retire. I've been working with the Wisconsin DAV Adjutant, Matthew Campion, and the Wisconsin DAV Northern Manager, Barbara Belmont, to gather information to answer any questions that you may have. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of what we got. So the van would be purchased by the DAV as a nonprofit and donated to a specific VA facility of our choosing. And the reason it has to be a specific a VA facility of our choosing is because the van then belongs to that UW hospital, and it can only be used for transportation to that specific hospital or any clinic that falls below it, and any community care set up by them. Now, we have veterans that fall into the Minneapolis VA, but it's a very small few. We're in the very northern area of the Toma VA's catchment area. The majority of our veterans utilize the Iron Mountain VA, and because Rhinelander is the closest clinic, that's the primary reason why. So the van would be purchased by the DAV and donated to the VA. That VA facility would insure the van. That VA facility would issue a credit card for the purchase of gas, and the van would be stored locally. I would recommend it be stored either at the normal building next to the Phillips Price police station, when it would be under surveillance or cameras, or here at the courthouse where it'd be next to the sheriff's vehicles. The van drivers would come to our office, get the keys, the gas card, the logs that they are required to maintain and turn in. Maintenance would be handled by Iron Mountain. We would drop the van, one of our drivers would drop the van off and get a loaner van, or if it's too unsafe to drive, we can utilize a local approved federal vendor. They touched on the drivers. I recommend getting 5 volunteer drivers. They would need to pass a medical exam and a background check. They would fill out mileage sheets daily and turn them into our office. Who can ride the van? Veterans that have medical appointments at the VA facility, clinics that fall under the VA facility, or community care appointments authorized by that VA facility. Veterans have to be able to enter the van unassisted, no wheelchairs, not assisted by the driver. And I talked to some surrounding counties, Taylor, Sawyer. There's a thing called the hospital service coordinator. It's supposed to be a volunteer position, and that was kind of a question for me how other counties handled it, and they rolled it right into the daily responsibilities of the CVSO and the assistant CVSO, and they are responsible for scheduling and coordinating rides for our veterans. Anyone have any questions?
Yeah. Hi.
Hi.
So they have to be able to get in and out on their own. So you're discriminating against anybody that could possibly be in a wheelchair. They wouldn't be able to use the service. Correct?
That is correct. That is the Wisconsin DAV rules, and I advocated for one that is wheelchair accessible, but through them, it's not a possibility.
Just a comment, the office does accommodate them, but they wouldn't be able to be accommodated with this van.
Okay, so they would still be covered.
Yeah, so there's a service out of Superior, I think we used.
Yeah, so I'm working with other federally and state funded organizations such as Indigo out of Superior to coordinate. They issue or pay for vouchers, and I coordinate the rides through Abbey vans or a contracted service. It's very expensive, but I have 3 or 4 veterans I do that for.
Okay. If at some point the percentage were to change, are you able to then move the van to, say, if the Minneapolis becomes more popular for the rest of the place, because my other half uses Rice Lake, that's his clinic where he goes for VA. I mean, obviously right now I don't need to worry about that and him needing that. But if in the future, if that becomes the majority, is there the possibility to then redesignate where the van is based out of?
So my understanding is the only time you can do that is at the van's wear out date. But I have spoken to our surrounding counties, like Taylor County goes to Toma, so we could coordinate with them. Sawyer and Rusk County go to Minneapolis, so I could coordinate with them. It would just be getting our veterans to where they leave from.
Mr. Spacek.
Do you have a number of how many people would utilize this? Like, is this going to run daily or once a week? Any idea on that?
Ideally, it would run 5 days a week, but that's obviously going to depend on how many volunteer drivers we can get. When we figure it out, we'll put the the information in our newsletter that goes out to all our veterans through email. And when I talked to Taylor County, theirs runs 4 days a week, and they have 5 volunteer drivers.
So we would be funding the drivers.
They're volunteer.
No, they're 100% volunteer.
No mileage? Or do they get paid mileage?
No mileage.
Okay.
That's the current program. So through the AODA, they get mileage as a volunteer. And then if the veteran can afford to reimburse, or we can get grant program to cover it, this takes that away. And so it's just through the DAV and they cover everything.
Mr. Stephen?
Is this like a minivan or is this a 14-passenger shuttle van?
Everything I've seen is a minivan, and they're all from the Ford company.
I think Taylor County has a Ford Edge. I feel like I've seen that outside. So it'd be an SUV / van type vehicle.
Mr. Kopish?
Yeah, assuming this gets approved, when would you have this up and running?
I was speaking with the DAV adjutant about the application process. They're suggesting, because the time frame to apply for this has passed, of initially giving us a slightly used van.
Yeah.
And the hang up for time that would take the longest is finding the drivers, getting them to the VA to get basically a fingerprint check for a simple background check and a physical. And that would take about 6 to 8 weeks.
So that's on the positive side, 6 to 8 weeks. Could take longer than that.
That's what they told me.
Yeah. Okay.
I spoke with them on Thursday.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I did talk to the surrounding counties just to clarify, like, if where the costs come, if there's anything. They said the same thing you're hearing today. There's little to no cost. The cost is the office having to do the scheduling. So that is hours worked that would not be doing their current tasks. And then also where they said the biggest hiccup is volunteers. So you have 5 good volunteers, that volunteer has an issue, the vet's waiting to get their ride. It becomes, those are the days that are a struggle. But in general, they're happy with the programs. It works well. I talked to Taylor, Sawyer, and Rusk. So.
And on that note, we already do the coordinating with ADRC for the rides for all our veterans. So in my opinion, it wouldn't be any extra work.
Mr. Hallstrand?
Picking the vets up at their home, or are they coming to our location?
I believe it's optional. We can do either.
Anybody else? Michelle?
Just one more kind of question. So the people that are allowed to ride now, would their significant others be able to go with them to this? I mean, if they can't drive, obviously they're looking for a thing, but I mean, say Paula needed it for Dale. I'm going to pick on you because you're looking at me. I mean, would she be able to go with him?
It is my understanding, yes.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none? I can't remember. I don't think we did the motion and second, did we?
It's on there.
Well, I know, but officially. Motion by Polachek, second by Hallstrand. We'll go ahead and vote unless there's any more comments. Thank you, Eldon.
Resolution passes 12 yes, 0 no for resolution number 21-25, approve agreement for the use of a veteran's DAV van.
Resolution number 8. At the request of the administrator, we're going to postpone this until our next meeting, but I'll let him give a little explanation as to why.
Yeah, so after we did pass this at the executive meeting after we talked about the budget, I'm going to recommend we postpone after that discussion where we're going to clarify exactly. So the recommendation was to borrow the $3.1 million. However, we did about $2.8 million worth of construction, but we want to continue to use all 3.1 for other things such as the yellow equipment, so we don't have to increase the levy somewhere else for yellow equipment. A lot of the conversation that happened is in order to be more transparent, we want to clean up that resolution to outline exactly what's happening rather than just $3.1 million for highway and then afterwards, which we always talk about it, but make it in the resolution clearer. So by postponing it, it doesn't affect our ability to get anything done. It doesn't slow down the process of us doing projects. It just gives us time to clean that up a little bit.
I'll motion to postpone to our September meeting. Is that appropriate?
Sure.
Okay.
Motion by Kopish,
I'll second that.
second by Baraka. Any further discussion? We'll just do a voice vote unless the computer's ready. Do we need? Okay, we're just going to do a voice vote. All those in favor of postponing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Number 9, Town of Elk Bridge and Culvert Aid. Whereas the Town of Elk is requesting aid for design and installation of a new culvert bridge on East Wilson Floyd Road over Wilson Lake, and so on. Now therefore be it resolved that the Price County Board of Supervisors hereby approves the Town of Elk Bridge and Culvert Aid request. Fiscal impact $12,000. Motion by Baraka, second by Drobnik. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll go ahead and vote.
Motion passes 12 yes, 0 no for resolution number 22-25, Town of Elk Bridge and Culvert Aid.
Okay, number 10. Whereas the Town of Prentice is requesting aid for design and installation of a new culvert bridge on Spring Road over Mondo N. Now therefore be it resolved that the Price County Board of Supervisors hereby approves the Town of Prentice Bridge and Culvert Aid request. Fiscal impact $16,000. Motion by Spacek, second by Hodak. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote.
Motion carries 11 yes, 0 no for resolution number 23-25, Town of Prentice Bridge and Culvert Aid.
Just for the record, there was one abstain.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
Number 11, whereas the Town of Worcester is requesting aid for design and installation of a new culvert bridge on Elk River Terrace. And now therefore be resolved that the Price County Board of Supervisors hereby approves the Town of Worcester Elk River Terrace Bridge and Culvert Aid request. Fiscal impact $16,000. Motion by Spacek, second by Drobnik. Any discussion? Hearing none. Go ahead, Mr. Braca.
I guess I didn't notice it on the last one, but I don't notice it on this one. That fiscal impact is $16,000 municipal tax levy estimated. The estimated is that if it comes in under, it'll be less than that because we're approving a maximum. Is that correct?
Yeah, so if it comes in over that, we come back with an amended resolution. This gets them in the program, get them going. Rarely do they go over because it's usually an engineered or bid price, but we've had a few of them where it's $3,000 difference or something. So, and what I was going to say on all three of these, all the bill needs to be paid, then they get reimbursement, then we collect from the taxpayers to offset it. So this may be this year, this may be next year, it takes time to finish each project.
Thank you.
Any other comments for discussion? Go ahead, vote.
Motion carried 12 yes, 0 no for resolution number 24-25, Town of Worcester Bridge and Culvert Aid.
Okay, next on the agenda, appointments. These are just for notification to the board, except for number 5, we do have to do a vote because it's a department head. So first off, Price County Library Board, I'm appointing Ogama Library Board recommendation Julie Lake. Term ends April 30th, 2025. Board of Adjustment, moving from alternate member to regular member, Mark Luma, term ends June 30th, 2026. Health and Human Services Board, Nicole Krolwicki, term ends May 31st, 2028. Veteran Service Commission, Roseanne Boggle, retired Master Sergeant, U.S. Army, Cannon, term ending December 31st, 2028. And Harry Wilkinson, retired Chief Master Sergeant, U.S. Air Force, Ogama, term ending December 31st, 12/28. Next up, number 5 is department head. The administrator appoints this position. The county board has to approve it. It's for the county veteran service officer. And we've already met Eldon Shire. Is there anything you'd like to say, Eldon? Or are you good? He's good.
It's a little bit more in depth than I thought, but I enjoy it.
And this is under the statutory process where when you have a county administrator, the county administrator makes the appointment of a department head, but it has to be confirmed by the board. So this would be the confirmation process.
Okay, we have a motion by Wartko, second by Drobnik to approve Eldon Shire, right? I'll try to get it right next time. As a county veteran service officer, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. All right, next up, Committee of the Whole, Board Chair Report. Been relatively quiet since the last meeting. I did attend the WCA Resolutions Committee meeting where resolutions were reviewed, voted upon as to refer to the state legislature. Attended the board chairs forum where breakout sessions were held regarding meeting procedures and how to deal with contentious topics and related behavior. At that time, we was able to connect with other county board chairs, and it's a good networking opportunity. Also attended a WCA meeting regarding amendments to the WCA Constitution, mostly having to do with how they pick who's going to be on the board of directors seat for the WCA. Don't really have any new updates on bug tussle. It's in progress, but basically no change. Did come in, did get some initial cost estimates for equipment that's going to be needed by the county to hang on these towers once they're installed. It's an all-encompassing estimate, not just equipment for the towers, but other equipment that the sheriff's department going to need to update. We will be talking about this and discussing what they really need, or that isn't really the right way to put it. But anyway, the estimate at this time is about $1.1 million. And that's all I have. Is there any questions? Yeah, Mr. Palchek.
Get too deep into this, might it be a good time to take a break?
Sure. Unless there's any questions for me as for the chair's report, we will take a break and then start with the county administrator's report when we return. Meeting back underway. Okay, we'll get started. County administrator's report.
All right, your favorite time of the meeting, so you can sit back, relax, and listen to me talk for at least 45 minutes. At least the first 4.5 minutes. Yeah. The first thing on the agenda is the fiscal summary and updates for 2025. In your packet, you should have through July 2025. The first page of that packet or that section is the general fund. We've been talking about it at executive. We've talked about it here. The couple main areas that we're monitoring would be jail and the sheriff's office. both which are over budget already at this point, and we believe they will be at the end of the year. Going into next year, we do adjust some things in the budget. We have the union negotiations. So those are the two last several years we've been over. This year we had multiple large cases, which caused a lot of overtime. That's the big area there. The other one we're really monitoring is IT. And the issue we're having there is we get a lot of renewals at random times for our software and hardware maintenance. And if you're following anything in software world, it's now going to subscription. And every time you turn around or blink, they go, oh, it's now $2 a person instead of $1.50. And that's per month, per person. So it adds up real quick. I would say on average, we're up 15 to 20% on software and hardware maintenance. So it's the one area across the board, cross county, we're seeing budgetary issues. General fund, any questions about that? Any departments? The next one is health and human services. High cost placements is where we're getting hit this year. We've had an increase in that area. We're at 62.19% of the spend for the year, and we're only 58% of the way through the year. And these bills are usually 1 to 2 months behind. So that tells you we're about 10 to 15% ahead of expenses compared to where we should be. Other funds, which is the animal control, the airport, highway, nothing that we're monitoring that closely. Everything seems to be doing okay there. Price County's cash year over year, we're down $3.6 million. That has a lot to do with things we've talked about over the last couple years, and that's just we had ARPA funding, we had other large project funding that we were sitting on, and those projects are being completed, and we're diluting that cash level. So we're at 12.6 million. During July, we collect taxes, so we probably were a little higher, but you'll never see that number because we do disbursements before that August number comes out. So disbursements are making all the municipalities and the schools, all the tax entities whole using our money. So even if someone doesn't pay taxes, we as the county make the schools whole, the municipalities whole, and we hold the debt until those are paid. Sales tax, we're at 508 through May, which is up 4.8% from last year, or $23,000. I still think we're hitting a plateau. Some of the other changes you're going to see in sales tax, they updated the sales tax for utilities, and that's $187 million throughout the state. We did get a report that it would affect Price County by about $6,000. I don't know if that's per month or what, but $6,000 didn't seem like a big change out of $187 million for the state. So we're monitoring that. That's one area where I think will also put us at a plateau for sales tax. Price County stumpage, this is through July. We know we have some outstanding sales and we have some receivables, but we're 91% more than last year at this time. We're just under $1 million of our collected funding. A good question that was asked at the last, it was forestry executive, one of the two. So the chart you're seeing here is what we as a county use for our levy, but we've actually collected, there's like a little note you can see above where it says year-to-date sales on the chart. We've actually collected $117,628 so far for the municipalities that have county forests. So 10% of all stumpage gets dispersed to the municipalities based on the percentage of county forests they have in their municipalities. So we've actually cut 1.7 million of stumpage. It's just we distribute at the end of the year 117,000, and that'll continue to go up.
Side note, that 10% the townships get that whether they have any stumpage cut or not.
Correct. So like if we did 100% of our cutting in Georgetown, everybody else who has county forest would, so town of Elk, town of Wooster, whoever has, it's based on the percentage of your your forest, a county forest in your municipality. So you don't have to have it cut in your municipality. It's distributed equally based on percentage. High cost placements is the next one. We are 76% more in June this year than we were last year in June. So we're at $344,636. We've talked about this at Health and Human Services. We talked about executive. We have a couple high cost placements that are just, it is the cost of doing business, the cost of having a high cost placement. They range between $15,000 and $25,000 a month per person. We have two. We hope to get some of those into lower cost placements, but they're still expensive. It's not that it goes from 25,000 to 1,000. It goes down to 6,000 or 8,000 per month. So during the budget process, we talk about some strategies that will at least keep us above water with this fund and with the available long-term cash on hand. High cost placements, AODA, so this is behavioral health. We are 50% less than we were last year at this time, but we're still going to hit our budget number. A lot of this we talk about is between children and youth and AODA. It all depends on where the individual that we're working with falls. So some years you're going to see a whole bunch in children and youth because it's not considered behavioral health. And then other years, it'll fall under behavioral health, even though they're children and youth. So it all depends on where we can get the most funding back is where it's classified. So in the end, you almost have to combine the two and say, did we hit a budget number, over over the year? So we're still going to be over budget. Health insurance is the next one. This July number, we did get some bigger reimbursements from our stop loss. So we're still right in that zero break even number overall once you put those in there. We are going to make some changes to our health insurance program for employees to help at least stay at zero because each year costs go up. I think we looked at our broker is going to be recommending like an 11% increase. I think we're going to manage that a little differently, but 11 is actually pretty good when you look at our region. There are several cities and municipalities that got 25 or 26 and had to make some major changes. The additional information in your packet this time is we put the profit and loss report for 2025 for the parks in here. One area it'll calm down or it'll spread out is with our new system for pre-registration, we're above our revenues of last year by about $31,000. But if you look at when that came in, it was all that February, March, April, where we normally only get $800 in reservations. We got $8,000 in reservations. So obviously when they come and stay this fall or towards the end of the year, that's already paid for earlier in the year. But this is each park. It shows you our profit and loss based on what we had to invest in expenses. The majority of expenses are general costs where it's the contractor to clean, to be the park person to check people in or make sure they're there. And then like toilet paper, logs, like Solberg, we have wood that you can cut. And then beyond that, Joe has about $120,000 in his budget that he does general maintenance at the parks. So if a new roof needs to be done, when we do a pavilion upgrade, when we do little things, he has money. When we do trail work out at the parks, those go in here. So some years you're going to see a spike because he did more maintenance at a specific park. Solberg and Smith Lake are two profitable parks. Tuscobia Trail, it's not a campground, so if there's a little donation box, sometimes we get donations, sometimes we don't, but the expenses are also very, very low for a park like that. But it does cost us money each year. Big Falls, again, there is camping, I believe, or there's the pavilion that's rentable. There's primitive camping out there, so that does generate a little bit of revenue, but it still has expenses. Nick? Yeah.
I get calls from a constituent that says that Tim's Hill, we're somehow underutilizing the potential there. And I don't know what to tell this person because I mean, the only way that, somebody to reach in their wallet and dole out cash just because they go to the highest point, but if anybody has any ideas of how we could better utilize that hill.
Tim's Hill, we did a lot of maintenance over the last couple of years. We did bathrooms, we did
Yeah.
new
But
playground area.
That makes people
electricity.
go there, but they don't reach in their wallet and make a contribution.
Yeah, it's more of just like the Apostle Islands discussion where it's they come here and hopefully they use restaurants or they put their head in a bed for staying. Where we see a lot of things, and if you don't run in these circles, you're not going to see it, but they just had a big race out there that was like a bike. Was it mountain bike or something? There was a group that just used Tim's Hill as part of their race course, and so it gets attention. There's a group that's reached out that wants to utilize it for another program like that. So it's an asset to have. It's just right. How do you put a toll at the end and say if you come through you got to pay a quarter? It's just a
question and answer. I don't know how to do it.
right. It's an economic driver in a different way.
We had at one point talked about building half a dozen campsites out there and kind of got negative feedback on that to leave it primitive. So, I mean, there is places we could put some campsites and generate a little bit of revenue that way, but is that really what people want for that particular park? I'm not certain that it is.
Nick, is it too early to evaluate the online pre-registration impact? And how is it going with the locals versus those?
I think it's too early to say, oh my gosh, this drove all this extra people there. There's been positive and negative feedback. I know the locals like it when you can go out there, put your chair and you're paying for a space, which I don't know if we're losing out on the space all week. So is it 3 days of camping? I know from those who are out of town, it's been a huge thing where it's cool. Now I guarantee a spot. I'm coming from wherever south, and they don't have to worry about having a friend or a family member run out there or get here and have to go find somewhere else. So it's a horse apiece how you look at it. Locals spend money, out of towners spend money. Who do you want to stay there? I think it's a positive thing. It's worked out. I think there's a redirect of how's the funding coming in? Are we missing out on no people out there but a camp chair being paid for at that site? And I wouldn't evaluate like at the end of the year, if we make X dollars, I wouldn't look at it compared to 2022-ish area, because that was just a outlier. People wanted to get outside. They wanted to do something and camping was a thing. I would compare it more to your 2019 timeline and say, this is what camping was around here. Did it go up? Did it go down?
No comment, Jordan? No.
The last one on the list is Tim's Hill. We have expenses out there because we help maintain some of the stuff. We've done a couple projects out there this year, including we're working on some roofing projects where we did some painting of the house, or we scraped some paint, cleaned up the paint. We did not paint the whole house. We're working on a leak that's at not the studio, it's a garage, but they have a name for it. The workshop, yeah. Which is a garage just next to the studio. Yeah, there's a leak in one of the corners. Yeah. So in general, it needed a new roof. So they're working on roofing there. Anne has been great to work with. Anne is great. Josh and Joe and everybody who needs to be contacted. She's been a pleasure to work with out there at Concrete Park. Oh, we have the shooting range too. That's on here. Any questions on that report?
Sure, Paul, I got a comment. I think the reservation system is given more use to the sites that were underused. I didn't say it wasn't going to be positive. I'd take a random ride around at 5:30 in the morning once a month or so when I get up and I've gone through there twice now. Excuse me. And I noticed like the sites down towards the woodpile definitely have more people in them
Oh, good.
that in the past years I don't think were there. So I don't think it's hurting. I don't know that we're getting, I don't know, we made money on a bag chair, you know, nobody's there using stuff, nobody's there wrecking things. So I think it's gonna take 2 years to truly see.
To see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I asked if it was
So-
too early for that.
But yeah, I do think there's sites that they got used in the past, but I think they're definitely getting used more, you
Good.
know, now because it is reservable.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Unless there's more comments, otherwise we can move on to the budget update.
All right, so that was 2025. 2026. Carrie and department heads worked really hard on this to get us to a point of start. So we have a draft budget that we talked about at the executive. How this works for the individuals who are new is we create a summary sheet, and it talks about how we come up with our available numbers. So starting from the top, last year's 2024 tax levy was $13,392,392,335. Library services was $309,271. So we subtract that. We subtract bridge and culvert aid because that's a separate levy of $341,059. And then we also remove debt service because that's outside the general levy of $4,963,198. The state on our sheet gives us a personal property aid, which is $77,428, which makes our 2025 operating tax levy limit $7,856,235. The next section talks about things that you can change as a board or accept in the general operation levy, which is we have to take out that $77,428 for personal property tax. We get a utility adjustment. This is our final year of that. It was a 4-year process. So we had a utility that went out of service or decommissioned. And so we didn't get that utility tax on our as a payment, so we can adjust that. The first year was $10,000, and then the following 3 years was $2,173. So we're recommending accepting that last adjustment. And our net new construction this year was 1.2%, which is one of our higher years, which is $92,656. What that does is, with all the adjustments, we are allowed to have a maximum operating tax levy for 2025 of $7,873,636. So that's the number we work with, hoping that you guys approve net new construction because that's the biggest what if on that portion. The 2026 budget assumptions, we still have the wage scale steps. We did that wage increase, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, to finalize that and get everything in. That's what this final number is. So there was adding that into it, which takes away 100% of what we have available to do anything above that. Health insurance, we still haven't made a final adjustment. We did do budget adjustments, as in each department, if a person was single family, what the cost is and where we're going. So that's why that one's blank for health insurance. Adjustments recommended by our office for revenues and expenses. Eventually you'll see a full list, but that's the other operating items across all departments is $27,000 that we found in adjustments. What that usually is we see additional revenues or a program adjusted something and we've been budgeting too much. So we take $1,000 here or $500 there. As you can see, over $27 million in expenses, it's $27,000. It's not a ton of movement there. Shared revenue, we got our number. We're going to increase that shared revenue by $31,645. This is the number that we get from the state. This was the big push, 2 years ago when they changed shared revenue. And then we get an increase based on the statewide sales tax increase. So it's 31,000 on our $1 million, approximately $1 million. Sales tax, we're recommending adjusting that because we've always under budgeted that slightly. And then nonprofit and community partners under Appendix B, we adjusted that by $325. Minimal there, which reduces the total amount by 109,000. So we were over budget. We came down by 109 to meet a zero maximum levy. What you guys are probably more, oops, I skipped here, interested in. So on Appendix C in your packet, it talks about what debt we're looking at this year. So on the first page of the summary, we've retired several debts. So we retired $103,549 payment, and that's our annual $3,000 in highway maintenance, which we did, I don't know, probably 10 years ago already. We every year we do $300,000 to offset maintenance because we use that for operational levy. The retirement of $404,000, that's same thing. We took operational levy out. We had to put money back into highway, so we used it through the debt process. Retirement of $733,410. That included a bunch of little projects that we do across the board, and then one highway truck. We did $725 for a 1-year borrowing, so that was retired. The retirement of our 2024 construction projects of $3.1 million, and then reduction of the amount of final payment at highway because we paid it off early. We saved a bunch of interest, so we saved $15,134 there. So after we retire all our debt, what we're recommending in this year's budget is construction / yellow equipment loan for $3.1 million. And the reason that was the resolution you would have reviewed today. We're going back to the executive to clarify that one. So in the past, we had said we want to do $3.1 million in construction. And based on the people we have, the timing of all the companies that work with us, whether it's asphalt, whatever, we're averaging about $2.9 million in construction projects that we can get done and in a summer. We know we have a yellow equipment issue, meaning construction stuff. We have old equipment that needs to be replaced. So instead of saying $3.1 million in construction and another loan for yellow equipment, we're reducing the construction loan and adding the equipment to it to continue to be at that 3.1. So you as a taxpayer have paid 3.1. We don't want to reduce that and try to fit another loan in there. We want to continue with the 3.1 and fit our construction projects and equipment for highway into that. We also talked to Roger. By 2030, he believes that number will also continue to be reduced, which may allow us to reduce our debt in other areas to put like the truck in there. So it's kind of focusing on that 3.1 million is saying, this is our cap. How do we do construction, yellow equipment, maybe future other equipment? So we'll get that back to the executive to clarify it, but we're still recommending 3.1 million.
So we're trying to
reduce the total debt.
Right. And with the redoing the way that resolution is going to read, it's making it more transparent. It's so it doesn't look like highway department is padding the request so they have leftover funds to buy equipment.
Right.
We need the equipment. It's not a something we don't need.
Right. We don't want to be seen as, look, they asked for $5 million in construction when they can only do 3 so that they can go buy other stuff. We want to be clear, and it's been clear. It's just our resolution didn't clarify what has been talked about or talked towards. So that's the first debt. The second debt is to offset that highway maintenance construction and a truck. So $750. If you look up to the chunk before, we reduced the debt by $750. We're just putting it back in there to say, this is our general maintenance for construction, and then also that second truck that has been recommended year over year to maintain the trucks, the salt trucks. Debt service, the $300,000 over 3 years, same thing. We reduced that payment by $123 in the last section. That payment just comes back on for that $300,000. Again, another area that we want to try to work with that debt in the future to reduce that. Debt service for squad cars, $190,000. That's part of that $700 $100 in the previous one where it says other projects and the truck, the highway truck. So you take that 7 whatever minus 350.
How many squads is that?
3 squad cars. So squad cars aren't like your normal car. One, the base is one, but the equipment that goes in it's about 10 to 15 grand alone. So yeah, it gets expensive. Now we're going to through negotiations, we were talking about take home squads, which does elongate the life of the squad because it's one individual rather than 20 using 4 cars. You spread out those cars. And really where that's going to save you is the equipment. Because every 2 years when you had that new car, you no longer could reuse the equipment because the manufacturers love to change the inside of the car by a millimeter. So then the equipment no longer fits in there. So if we can maintain the cars for the 7-year period, you're buying the equipment to last 7 years rather than 2 years. So you're still replacing equipment, but you're utilizing the equipment rather than decommissioning the equipment each year or every other year. So squad cars, the debt service for IT storage project, that's a 10-year maintenance and equipment that we're recommending. So that's why that one's so high. But we're recommending paying that over a 5-year period because that's one of those where it's you get it, you're going to use it over 10 years. We're paying it over 5. You pay interest, but it's really the only way it fits in your budget without a major increase in your levy. The nice part about that one is just like we talked about those software costs and the maintenance costs, we've negotiated in this project 10 years worth of maintenance. So we won't get an increase or a change in maintenance because we're just paying for the maintenance up front. It doesn't go out of your operating costs then, which is a positive. The last one on this list is debt service for health and human services high cost placements under the statutory ability to borrow. If it's a court ordered issue, we can replenish or borrow for that money. So we believe we're going to be over budget on high cost placements, which will affect that fund balance, which affects our cash balance that we need to keep on hand. And so we have the opportunity to make up some of that funding to maintain that cash and that fund balance. So right now, and I'm not saying this is final number, we put in a number of 400. It may be less, but we didn't want to give a 200 and then come back and ask for 320. So we'll work that number out and see what the best use of that one-time borrowing to make sure we're maintaining and not falling behind. We did this several years ago where if you keep eating away at that fund balance, eventually you got to make major changes where this is cool. Let's maintain it up front. We have some wiggle room in our levy. Library services, the libraries came forward. They asked for 80%, just like last year. So no increase in request. And then out of counties are at 70%. It goes from 309 to 318. So it did increase. There's a breakout of that in Appendix E. Bridge and culvert aid, that's where we see our levy going down quite a bit. It went from whatever last year was on the first page, 341,000. This year it's 21,000. So that's a reduction in the levy because there weren't the big requests. There's one that's we took the money last year, but they didn't finish the project. So we actually had a fund balance that still didn't get distributed for the town of Worcester for 73,000. So that reduces the cost of what we would need to collect. So that's another reason it's offset. We collected too much last year, so we get to collect less this year. So total tax levy that we're recommending as a draft right now is $13,583,653, which is an increase of $191,318 year over year. Operationally, it would be a 0.71% increase, which is your net new construction. Library would increase by 0.07%. That's just what they what they turned in their bills for. So they're still at the 80%. It just happens they have more circulation. Bridge and culvert aid goes down by 2.39%. And then the debt levy would go up by 3% for a total levy change of 1.43%. If you look at our equalized value year over year, we went up just under 10%, and that reduces our mill rate even with the increase from $6.13 to $5.43, or negative 70 cents. So for every $100,000 your house, it's reduced by 70 cents compared to the prior year. So if nothing else changes on your house and nobody on the neighbors and nothing changes with assessments, your taxes would go down because it would be redistributed to others that went up the cost. So the mill rate.
So you've accomplished what we wanted you to do.
Yep. So we were requested to keep it the debt as close to zero as possible, and the mill rate, or not the mill, the levy increased close to zero as possible. The only thing that's really going up is that high cost placement, and the reason we're recommending it is because of that 70 cent decrease in the mill rate, and everything else kind of working out where it did. So there is some wiggle room. We could reduce that 1.43% levy increase by a little bit, but
we've got that blank on the first page for health insurance. Is that going to be something to be concerned about?
No, it won't affect bottom line. I think it'll just be how creative are we going to get with health insurance? Between my conversation with our brokers, Jennifer, Carrie, those type of things, I think we'll deal with what we have to deal with on health insurance.
And anything else, if we need wiggle room, that 400,000 can be adjusted.
Yeah.
That's one thing to look at anyway.
Correct. That would be an area, or how we spread out TJ's or the highway one, and there's some wiggle.
Nick.
Mr. Kopish.
Yeah. Nick, on that libraries numbers that you got in there, the Park Falls, where did that number come from?
We receive a bill from.
That was back this past spring, right?
Yes. June.
June.
You're
Okay.
hearing voices.
So this was for
last
24.
2024 collected in 2026.
And huh?
So it's the bill from 2024, all the circulation. We get the bill, what did you say, June? But it's for the prior year. So in 2025, we get the bill for 2024. We collect on your 2026 tax bill, which is your 25 taxes.
So this is the bill we got in June that we're putting in next year's budget. So we're basically on
we're a year and a half behind. Yeah.
And it went up that much, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mr. Barkstrom.
Nick, last year our expenditures projected it was 31.4 million. Can you predict at this point in the budget process what our expenses are going to be for 26 yet?
Carrie can run that. So between revenues going up and expenses going up, Carrie will run that number. But so to summarize is we collect $13 million in levy between debt and everything, but we actually, between state funding, federal funding, fees, everything we collect, we actually spend closer to $31 million as a county. So we about 40% of what we spend is levy dollars. I would guess it's going to go up slightly because we do have some other revenues. We have some other expenses.
We borrowed less money.
We borrowed the same. Carrie's got the number.
$32,793,362.
So we go up about $1 million, but that means also mostly we see other revenues go up quite a bit.
So what was it, Carrie?
$32,793,362.
Okay. Then the other question I had is our head count, we never document head count that I can see. Is our head count the same? Going to go up?
We recommend no increase in staff for next year. So we had 5 requests across the county. We had a mechanic, a GIS specialist, an accountant. What were the other 2? IT. Oh yeah, another IT individual, and there was 5, but we don't have the room in the budget. So the discussion was, okay, how do we do these things without increasing staff?
All right, thank you.
The newest, we have no general questions on the budget. The newest document that you'll see in your packet for the budget is something that Carrie worked really hard on after I asked her to put it together. But it really kind of emphasizes the importance of understanding how budgets work and how tax collection works. So it's the last page in your packet for the budget. And what the reason this came about is we had some taxpayers come in and pay their bill in July, and they were working with their local assessor, and they're already saying that their local assessor told them that their taxes are going to double next year, and this is ridiculous. So we wanted to have a little bit of a talking point, educational point, and so we came up with this spreadsheet for 2025, 2024, and 2023. So if you look at 2024, which is the center one, and you look at equalized value, that is how that's a number we get from the state. It has nothing to do with your assessment. It has everything to do with what's been sold in the area and what the state formula is telling us how valuable a specific municipality is. So if you look at equalized value, and I'm going to pick on Worcester because they had a rough year last year with taxes. So in Worcester, their equalized value in 2024 was $324,171 or $171,300, which is 14.26% of the total pie. So we tell you we're going to collect $13 million. That's the number we're coming up with our levy. Town of Worcester was responsible for 14.26% of that. If you go to the right and look at 2023, the prior year, the state said, no, Worcester, you're worth $273 million or only 13.17% of the pie. So if we did nothing with taxes, we just said collect 13 every year, 13 million, Town of Worcester citizens' properties would have had to come up with 2% more or 1.1% more of the total taxes out of that 13 million. So from there, once the state says this is how much that municipality should collect or be charged of that, we say, okay, collect it. The next column is your assessed value. That comes from your assessor based on what your properties are worth. So if your municipality hasn't been reassessed, you then take that 14.2% or whatever it was of the 13 million and divide it by your assessment. So then you know what mill rate you pay. So if your house is assessed at $100,000 and your neighbor's at $200,000, your neighbor's going to pay twice as much as you of the piece of pie. But if nothing else changes and your assessor comes in and says, okay, everybody's is doubled. Yours was 100, now it's 200, but your neighbor went to 200 to 400. Everybody's taxes would be the same on that $13 million because everybody went up equally. That's not how the assessors work though, right? So they come in and they go, oh, I didn't realize neighbor A was at 100 and neighbor B with the exact same house, exact same property size was at 200. They should both be at 200. Now neighbor A is going to pay more, not necessarily twice as much more, but they're going to pay more, and neighbor B is going to pay less, even though they're exactly the same assessment, because the amount distributed amongst your neighbors, your assessment based on the 14.26% is now redistributed amongst your neighbors. So if your assessment does nothing, or a reval happens, it all comes down to what the state says your apportionment of the total taxes should be. So if you go back to Worcester and you go to the left, you look at 2025, their equalized value went up quite a bit. They're now at 339 million from 324. However, the amount they're going to pay went down in percentage. So if we kept the levy exactly the same, did nothing, they're going to pay 0.75% less of that 13 million. So again, all assessments stay the same, everything stays the same. Town of Worcester taxpayers would see their taxes go down because they're paying less of the total pie. So when we see these people go, oh, my assessment doubled, has nothing to do with the county. That's amongst your peers, your neighbors. What you should worry about is what size pie your municipality got distributed. So I can't remember. It's like Town of Lake. They're going to pay 0.55% more of the pie no matter what. Now they're also getting reassessed. So that'll make a whole difference between your neighbors. Oh, I'm on Ogama, but yeah, Lake's already out of compliance. We'll talk about that issue in a second. There's several out of compliance. So that's the most important part is what percentage of the pie are you paying? Now let's look at the assessment. So if you start in 2023, every property on this list that's green is out of compliance. Compliance means you're within 10% of your equalized value in assessment. So what is it? Fifield, who went through a reval that time, and Town of Lake must have done that reval at the time. So they were the only two within compliance. Their argument is, we're paying so much more based on our assessment. That's not true. You're paying more because the state said your equalized value is a higher rate, is a higher amount, piece of the pie. But when you get reassessed, you're now fairly paying amongst your neighbors because, again, I'll give an example. No one likes to use themselves, but like in Town of Elk, my road got reassessed last year. I paid $1,200 more and mine went up, I think it was 60%. Nobody else in the town went up because they didn't get reassessed. It was just me and my road. So our whole road got reassessed compared to the neighbors. Now our whole municipality is going through reassessment. My assessment most likely won't change, but all my neighbors in the municipality will, meaning my taxes will go down because I'm now equally compared to amongst my peers, my neighbors in my municipality. Now I would also have to look at, did the Town of Elk change in equalized value? What portion of the pie? Could be a whole bunch of changes. Now, this is just county taxes. You have to look at the school, the tech college, and your local. So if the school did what Prentice do or try to do? Referendum. Elk did one, or Phillips did one too. You might go up by $400 just based on the referendum. That's also based on equalized value, based on assessment, so just getting reevaluated is actually a positive because you're now compared properly to your peers, your neighbors. What you hear the negative for reassessment is, I live on the lake and I have a $300,000 assessment and now it's 600,000. But Nick, who didn't live on the lake, had a 200. He went to 300. Well, this one doubled. I only went up 50%. This property, Lake Property A, is going to pay more of the pie that municipality had. So it redistributes based on proper that year's assessment. If you look at all these, you have 5 years to come into compliance of the 10%. So you have to be in compliance once every 5 years. So in 2024, we only had 3. We had Kennan, Lake, and Harmony. If you go to the next year, because our equalized value changed so much, Harmony went from -1, so 0, they were in compliance, to out of compliance in 1 year. The year before, they were at 32% out of compliance. So they did their reval. They are out of compliance within 1 year. The goal should be that assessor looks at every property every year and makes an adjustment so they keep up with it so you're not out of compliance, but that's a whole different issue. So we're getting misinformation out there about mine's going to double because my assessment doubled. That's not true. It's the equalized value. Equalized value comes from sales of property, desirability of property. The state comes up with that.
Just a comment. When Lake got reevaluated, my house went up like third, and my taxes only went up about 5% because of that. Other people that had
All the other
bigger
neighbors, yeah.
increases in property value than I did. So you can't really predict what's going to happen because you don't know. But I'm surprised how far out of whack these municipalities are.
I'm not. And the
I
reason,
just, wow.
Yeah, I'm not, is we've seen an equalized value increase over the last 5 years of about 100%. It was like 20%, 20%, 20%. This year's 10%. We were so far behind on equalized value. That's why our mill rate was at $6, $7, $8 compared to Chippewa, who was at $2 because their equalized value was way higher. And so we're now getting, I think, Alan, you bring this up. Comparably in our region, the 5 counties around us, our mill rate looks great because our equalized value divided by our amount we collect is the same as the neighboring ones. But the more the equalized value adjusts, the more we'll look like the statewide area because now we're being compared fairly to the other regions of the state. So that's why our mill rate looks high when I buy that same house. My house is worth 300 here. If I buy that same house in Chippewa, it's worth 700,000. It's the same square footage, same everything. But my mill rate here is $5 over there because it's evaled at twice as much. My mill rate's $2.50. So I pay the exact same taxes on both of those houses. It's just there's a different equalized value formula mill rate. I plan on using this presentation or this sheet at Towns Association to let them know, because I think they're a good way to distribute information, especially because you see in blue, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 municipalities going through a reval, which is a lot. Any question about the budget or equalized value?
No questions at this time?
Will you be putting together that little house sheet?
Yeah.
Good. I mean, that's a real popular one with my constituents, so. Yeah.
Yeah, where it shows like the house, and then like if you have $100,000 house, $3 a month goes to law enforcement, $2 goes to construction. Yeah,
Are we going to do the popcorn bucket exercise?
we
this
didn't have
year?
enough debt this year. I mean, like project, there wasn't a list of.
There's no need for that this year.
Yeah, this year we didn't do it because we didn't get a lot of requests. It was easy to prioritize. TJ.
Anything else for them, Mr. Steven?
Who and how often do we determine who gets evaluated?
We do nothing with the evaluation. So equalized value is every year. The assessment is you have to be in compliance once every 5 years. So municipalities are responsible for that. If a municipality fails to come in with compliance, we're supposed to step in and force but it's the state's job. Technically, the state steps in and says, you've been out of compliance more than 5 years. What are you doing? So it has.
Will come in and reassess, the state will.
Yeah, at your expense. Yeah. So we don't have anything to do with that.
Ms. Hodak.
I just want to thank Nick and Carrie for such a nice job. Good layout, and the new sheet is very helpful. Thank you. I know it's their job, but I really like that they do
Carrie
it.
works very hard on this.
I know she does.
She should
She
take all the
does.
credit. Good. She should. She makes me look good in front of you guys. Hopefully.
Anyone else? Okay, well, we got a lot to think about here as far as the budget goes, but it's looking good, in my opinion, so far. Committee chair reports. Administration, Mr. Warco.
Thanks, Paul. That's Paul's job, you know.
I looked at you. He just did the arm.
There was a few things that we already approved, that we worked on, that then it went to executive, executive presented it in resolutions. Other than that, some of the things that we've been discussing at our last meeting was the employee handbook, the administration manual, and the deputies union contract, which is coming up. And all three of them items will be addressed at our next meeting.
Should ask if anybody has stuff for that.
If there's the supervisor and procedure manual, if you have anything that you'd like to see addressed, let us know, Nick or me or somebody.
And that's your manual, how you bring things forward, how you get
County
reimbursed.
supervisor,
Yeah,
not
county
department.
county supervisor policy procedure manual is due, or you guys have to approve it before papers go out for re-election in this fall.
Oh yeah, that's coming up.
Other than that, that's all I have.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Warco? Hearing none. Executive. Okay, we had a meeting last week. We discussed the resolutions presented and voted on today. The treasurer gave a report on the usual report, and then of note of the properties in REM going up for online auction. I believe there's 20 properties, but some have been grouped together, so now there's a total of 15. When I say grouped together, I mean it's like the 5R property in Catawba. It's going to be all one parcel instead. Right now, it's listed like individually 5 different parcels, but it's all together in one now. And there's a couple other ones that are the same way. We talked about the budget, basically what was presented today. there were comments made about the highway projects and what was also commented on today regarding the resolution for the $3.1 million to make it more transparent. So we'll bring that back next meeting. We went into closed session to discuss the administrator review. That's a contract requirement, annual performance review. I have a synopsis put together of the committee members' discussion. I will hand that out at the next meeting. We will just put a line item on the agenda for that. You can all look it over. Mr. Kopish.
When has the current contract ended?
Is it December?
Last July.
Last July. I know it was getting close.
Yeah, so technically last July or this month ago, my 5-year period was up. However, there was no discussion prior to December 31st the prior year, so it automatically renewed for 1 year. So
Okay.
my contract ends July 31st, 2026. So we've talked about that where
Okay.
it'll be
So you're in an
discussed about.
extension, a 1-year extension. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You want to just get into the details or not? Just what will happen if we do nothing?
Yeah, if we did nothing by December 31st, technically you could say it renews again for a year. It's not necessarily an evergreen contract, but we could treat it as an evergreen, which is just it automatically renews for 1 year if there's no discussion or no separation by December 31st. It's up to you guys if we'll discuss it executive.
That's all I have for executive. Any questions? Hearing and seeing none. Forestry Parks, Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Hallstrand.
Okay. Buildings and grounds, we talked about Josh's, the big savings they found there by fixing that. I believe we talked about that at the last meeting, but what was on hold there was the boiler motors that got burnt out. Now it was sent to the insurance company as of our meeting. Seems like a month ago, but it was only 2 weeks ago. We hadn't heard back yet. Have we heard back? Did they cover it or?
Covered.
They covered
They
it.
covered it. So 100%, well, minus deductible.
Minus deductible, yeah. So that's a good thing that we got our boiler motor recovered. The electrical panel at that meeting was still out for quote on repairs, so I don't know if that came back yet, but we're waiting on that project. Otherwise, Josh has just been kind of getting wrapping up the summer, and there was one other thing. Yeah, it must not have been too major. Well, I do have a whole great big Larry profile I could read here, but I'm not going to. But finances, he didn't spend a whole bunch of money, so that's kudos to Josh. I always say he's the guy that doesn't come in and ask for $100. He asked for 100,000. So he did very well. Boiler system, yeah, we talked about that. Electrical panel.
We talked about the sidewalks.
The sidewalks, yeah, the county is responsible for 220 feet approximately of sidewalk. Will most likely get pushed out the cost into 2026.
Possibly 2027.
Yeah, possibly even further out than that. So
that doesn't mean the project won't be done this year. So the way the project works is, or what they're hoping at the city level, they did the engineering, they're looking at bidding, they're hoping to do the project this fall. However, the way they bill the landowners is through the tax process. So if the project happens this fall, they won't have a completed bill until after taxes go out. So anybody that would be billed wouldn't see that on their tax bill until 2027. So the project will hopefully move forward this year, and then the billing would happen in 2027.
So the pain in the saga of the highway repair here through town is going to last a while yet. So,
and the approximated cost on that was $10 material, $10 for engineering and installs per square foot. So we figured between $15,000 and $20,000. We're responsible for 5 feet wide by the length of your property. So if it's 6 feet wide, the city's responsible for that extra foot.
Mr. Polachek.
We looked into that. Yeah, we looked into that, and the problem with that is we're still going to have the material, we're still going to have a little bit of cost, and in the end, it would only hurt the downtown businesses because there's still the engineering cost. It doesn't reduce the cost of engineering down here, and so we would be pushing all those costs onto the the other businesses downtown. It was just an agreement. We talked to the city about it. There was a possibility, but we've decided to go with the project as a whole, as a community. Yep.
So that's all I really had for buildings and grounds. Forestry and parks, Joe did send me a abbreviated synopsis here. He's got 4 active timber sales right now. We heard the numbers from Nick. It's approximately we've collected over $1 million, but in our coffers is just shy of $1 million. So we're doing much, much better on our stumpage this year than last year, which is a good thing because big revenues. The Solberg campground project is moving along very well. The sewer and water is in. They put 2 pit toilets in now, or the toilet, they're not pit toilets because they would be. Yep. Blacktopping went in. I mean, so they were black dirting. I mean, a lot of progress. It's got to be nearing completion, but we aren't going to be opening it this year for sure. It'll be next year for an open date. As Jordan said, there's mixed feelings on the reservation system, but it seems like certain campsites that we did put into the reservation system are busier than what they've been in the past, and the locals have still been able to get some of their spots that they like. What else did Joe have on his list? The ATV trail, as part of the expansion project, we finally did get approval from the DNR. They did start clearing parts of where that trail is going to go. It's not going to go through the wetland anymore. It's going to go off the wetland. Steve Creek flowage, that permit is in for final DNR approval now. So that one should, I assume, is going to be a next year's project. We're not going to bid it anymore this year. The new one that floated back onto the list now is Cranberry Creek flowage that's been out for quite a while. Has now resurrected again in that, as well as in engineering, getting ready to be submitted to the DNR for approval. The shooting range in southwest part of the county is just kind of sitting there. There really has been no action taken on that, waiting kind of for that sportsman's club to come through with their part. So that's really all I have for now.
Any questions, comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll go on to Health and Human Services.
Health and
Ms.
Human,
Odak.
thank you. Health and Human Services Board met on August 13th. Being this was our annual public participation evening, I guess, our meeting was at 3:30, and then we had the next meeting at 5 o'clock. So the 3:30 meeting, we introduced Nicole Kulwicki, our newly appointed Health and Human Services Board member. And I know Bob Kopish wasn't there at the time for the meeting, so he asked me about who was Nicole Kulwicki. So I'm going to just give you just a little insight so you all know too. I wrote to him, I said she lives with her husband Ted in the town of Emory. She's a nurse practitioner at Phillips Marshfield Clinic. She was nurse practitioner with Marathon Health BW, which is Barry Waymiller. Nurse practitioner with Taylor Family Health Phillips, and recently has been hired back to Marathon Health on a part-time basis, which will allow her to sit on the Health and Human Services Board. She'll tell you that with her 3 children graduating and on their own, she wanted to use some of her free time to do something to give back to the community, and is excited to accept the position. And so, judging from how well she settled in last Wednesday's meeting, I think we're going to be happy to have her aboard. So that's Nicole. We had other employees that were introduced. We went through them today as well. Let me see. The annual report was presented and finalized at next meeting because everyone is going to look at it, and then we'll bring it back. Aging and disability, Chris gave the quarterly report. The Nutrition Advisory Committee Council met, and we have a new substitute site driver. And Deborah Warner was elected as the new NAC chairperson, and Bill Hoffman as the vice chair. Overall, this time, the comments about the menu were good, with only a couple minor concerns. they can be kind of contentious sometimes, unfortunately. The COA, Council on Aging, met, and Dave Schmidt was reelected chairperson. Diane Gehrman was elected vice chair. They talked about the different donations to the different sites for the monetary. Economic support was Sarah. She reported we had the WEAP, which is the Wisconsin Home Energy Assistance Program policy that we have to renew every year. And that is a crisis assistance for people at risk for losing home energy, especially during the winter heating season. So that always has to be renewed. The fiscal report was given by Carrie. The children and youth will continue to see an increase, as Nick has apprised us of how it will be affecting us. Sarah also, and then Sarah reported on the Price County Senior Living Expo with 30 vendors is coming October 14th to the Phillips Municipal Building from noon to 6. It's going to have a variety of activities and catering, food, I would assume, and presentations. The Northern Income Maintenance Consortium is leaving our consortium on January 1st. Personnel updates. This is really good news. There's only one social worker opening. Otherwise, the Health and Human Services Department is fully staffed. Yay for that. Our next meeting is September 10th. Any questions? Thank you.
Just a side update. We are looking for one other board member. Susie Ocker gave us notice that she would like to be done on the board. So where she fills the nursing or the hospital nursing position. We have to look into it, but we're reviewing
someone who helps to provide service, a health
Is that
service.
what
I
her?
think it is.
There's different titles they each
Yeah.
fall under. So
I heard that, but I hadn't been confirmed. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
so we're working on filling that position.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you, Paula.
Yep.
Next up, Highway and Transportation, Mr. Polachek.
Highway update. Rut paving on County Trunk Highway N. There, that's for you. That's all right.
Mr. Polachek, I apologize, but I needed to mention that the public participation hearing meetings, we opened at 5:00. There were no people in the audience as I read through all the departments for any comment, and there was nothing. So we adjourned at 5:05.
What took you so long?
Beat that one. Oh, you beat me.
Completed ditching on County Trunk Highway C project and installed drain tile. Added a 3-inch gravel lift to 15 miles for pulverizing and an additional 3 to 4 inches in low areas. That's on County Trunk C. Graded rolled traffic control in front of and behind the pulverizer. Changed 9 culverts on County Trunk Highway H in preparation for next year's project. Changed 3 failed culverts on County I and triple 36-inch pipe on County Trunk D. Changed 2 48-inch culverts on Hamilton Road, Town of Lake. Changed a 6-foot by 50-foot culvert for the Town of Elk. Concrete box culvert repair on State Highway 13. Routed and sealed cracks on County Trunk Highway B North and County Trunk E. Mowed all state and county highways, trimmed around all guardrails. Boom mowed State Highway 182, County Trunk E and County Trunk W Causeway. Shouldered County Trunk A North and paver patches on State Highway 70. MSHA new minor training was completed. Curb installed on County Trunk Highway RR. Patching continues when weather permits. County Trunk O Bridge deck is removed. Pier 2 is removed and starting construction on new Pier 2. Any questions on the highway?
Just one. You didn't mention the new blacktop on the Highway Department parking lot in the back.
Oh, yeah, that's been all pulverized and paved.
Was that in the budget?
Yes. Did it have to be?
There was
Oh,
actually
maybe that's why you didn't mention it. No, I'm just kidding.
There was actually a discussion on that last year, and I wasn't really keen. Roger had said that if there wasn't enough money to do RR or something like that, that would get put aside and the paving would be done up here. And I was not really thrilled with that statement. I didn't think that our shop yard needed to be done before roads. So, but
Looks really nice.
I know it's a different budget, but our shop yard can sit a year to wait for roads to get fixed first. Well,
Moving on.
go back to gravel.
That's easy for you to say. All dams are in working order. And at the airport, we're concentrating on mowing and tree clearing. Next highway transportation meeting is September 3rd. All are invited. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Palachek. Next up, land use and UW extension, Mr. Barkstrom.
Okay, we met on July 24th. We held 4 hearings, 3 of which you heard today that were approved, mostly to do with the different dealing with conformance with NR 115. But of note, there was a conditional use permit filed by a Tamara Brandt for the purpose of operating a women's shelter and maternity home in the town of Elk. So that will be operational. Land conservation, working on snowmobile fund request. And we talked about the wild parsnip infestations in the Fifield Park Falls area. And the land sale is coming up soon. There's going to be 15 properties offered. So that would end land conservation and let's see, we'll move on to extension. There was a memorandum of understanding between UW and Price County was discussed and approved. We talked extensively about over the years about Reality Day Fair, and that's scheduled for November 13th at the Phillips High School. This event has not been held since pre-COVID, so all the experienced administration have been since retired. And we talked about it today. There's also that announcement that the federally funded FoodWise program has been canceled. And the current educator has been notified of termination. The program will end September 30th. That ends that. I would have a report on the Northwoods Rail if you want to hear that.
Sure.
I did. Okay. I attended a meeting on July 11th that was held in Rhinelander at the Great Lakes Timber Association. There were county and other municipality leaders in northern Wisconsin, and the UP attended. Clark County was represented by several people. There was an election of officers. Then there was the main gist of the meeting. There was a presentation by a Libby Ogard of Prime Focus, which is a LLC doing consultant business. There's a reported $100 billion available in direct loans for nationwide development of infrastructure. And the project types are highway, bridges, intermodal connectors, rural infrastructure, and so on. The Northwoods Rail Transport Commission has an application requesting $1.5 million to support a technical assistance center for the support of financing of rail and infrastructure in this area. It seems that most of the funding from this fund goes to the east and west coast and very little to the Midwest. I think I'm sure that this funding there's a rail system out in California that has since it just doesn't go anywhere. I think that funds come from this group. There was no information given on the status of any copper mines in the UP. The only use of rail that I am aware of is the Fifield Woodyard that stages wood that is transported to Escanaba or Quinnipiac, Michigan. And Clark County was there because they're very upset about the curtailing of the rail system between Medford and Spencer. So they're very active. That's why they had most members there. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Moving on, law enforcement, Mr. Palachek.
Okay. I have the wrong minutes in front of me. Senior moment. There was a discussion to move the coroner's department report to a quarterly report. Where did that go, Mr. Kopish?
Well, I had to chair the meeting because the chair didn't show up.
Geez, 2 last month, Larry?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, my
So-
goodness.
So, otherwise Larry would know all this. But we had no coroner, no district attorney, no clerk of courts. So our law enforcement committee meeting was just the sheriff. And Brian could take up the time. I mean, he did a nice job. But based on that, and I know the coroners discussed that it's very difficult for him to be ready for a meeting on the first Thursday, depending on when the month ends. So the suggestion was made, or a thought was thrown out there, that maybe on some of these reports, we can do just quarterly reports, and then they can come actually not the month right after the quarter ends, but the following month, and maybe we'd get some attendance. So that was discussed. We haven't decided that. So that's something you're going to have to deal with at our next meeting, Mr. Chair.
It's always been poor attendance from all of the above.
Yep. Do you want anything else?
Sure. go ahead.
Okay, so the sheriff, basically both the sheriff's department and the jail are over budget on expenditures for this time of the year. And the sheriff's department, basically, there's been a lot of overtime due to various issues that have arisen in the county and having people off, whether they're off for whatever reason. And then also the technology issue. There's a lot of money being spent trying to get them up to speed with radios and communications. And so there's been a fair amount of money spent this year already with Motorola. And I guess from what Nick said, as we go to the towers, there's going to be a bunch more that's going to be requested. So it's getting them up to speed, because this stuff rotates about every 8 years. It seems like they got to replace everything. We're at one of those time periods. As far as the jail, it's the same thing. Overtime because of staffing issues. There's housing costs. We've been full. The jail's been full mostly, and we've been housing out of the county. So that's a little bit high. And then medical expenses have been high. So those are the reasons. So I don't think we're going to have anything that's going to solve that by the end of the year. So they're probably going to be over budget for the year. Other than that, everything is fine.
Thank you.
Anything to add, Mr. Palachuk?
Just thanks to the highly competent vice chair.
Any comments, questions for either one of them? Hearing none?
It's not based on the date, it's based on the departments.
Yeah.
They're elected officials, they're not necessarily, they don't have a requirement to be there, and we don't have a DA, so that makes one. Judge's office isn't gonna pop by until they need something. Clerk of courts, they're usually just busy, and what's the update? I guess if you told us exactly what you're looking for from them, we can work with them to get either the information or more attendance. But a lot of times, even the one time a year they show up, it's like, what do you want to know? And yep, court's busy. It's not a lot of decision making in those departments.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion or comments, we'll move to convene out of committee of the whole. It's been a long meeting today, but I think we got a lot accomplished. I don't think we had a lot of hot air time. Date of next meeting is September 16th, 2025, 9:00 here. And if there's nothing else, I hereby adjourn the meeting.